Good morning, everybody. It's Bear with bearindependent.com. Is the 12th of February. D-2 to the proposed winter apocalypse in the Ozarks. We shall see. However, it's been quite icy around here lately. So we're doing the report from home today rather than from the office. Little old school bear report. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to Prepping 101 for the love bombs last night, and welcome to all the new subscribers. We are going to get into this brief momentarily, and today's brief is going to be relatively brief. I'm going to read what I have here in front of me, put here by the Dance Monkeys. Send your intel to intel@bearindependent.com, or you can go to bearindependent.com, click the contact page, and send your intel to the Dance Monkeys at intel@bearindependent.com. I'll be pontificating and editorializing a wee bit, but as you've seen from the title, I'm about over this damn virus, man. I'm just normalcy. I'd like some normalcy. And praise the Father, we have it here because prepping and community, right? Because prepping and community. However, I would like the world to at least become semi-predictable again. Predictable is stable. Stable is profitable. Good times, right? And I know, Bear, weak men make hard times make hard men make good times make weak men, and weak men make hard. Yeah, I know, I've read all that too. I get it. Just allow me the opportunity to lament the fact that it seems like we might be going into harder times, and well, I can acknowledge that. That doesn't mean I have to appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Moving right along. It seems COVID-19 cases are finally on the decline and that the peak is beginning to pass naturally. Ooh. The Bank of America noted that COVID-19 hospitalizations and positivity rates have both declined dramatically, and that all 50 states and D.C. saw no increase over the past week. The Bank of America noted this. Now, on the one hand, you could make the argument that, see, there's nothing nefarious there. They're a large financial institution, and it is in their best interest to be aware of what's going on out there in the world. And you'd be completely correct, because when you're any sized organization, but especially when you're a large organization, the more intel you have, the better you can operate. So, of course, the Bank of America would be aware of things like that for forecasting and for reasons. But one could also say, how interesting that these banks are colluding with these healthcare companies. Yeah. So we have this thing coming up here in America called socialism. And this is the merger of the state, the government, and the means of production industry stuck together. And part of that public-private partnership, a key portion of that, is banks. And so I imagine we're going to hear more about stuff like this in the future. We've already seen that banks are now saying that lending is not going to be based on hard metrics alone, like your credit score and your net income and your gross revenue and things like that. No, it's also going to be based on soft metrics as well, like what type of browser do you use, and what's your search history, and what's your social media history. Talk about this. The reason for that, in my humble opinion, is twofold. The first is it's their bank and they can do whatever they want. Well, but the government says, who do you think owns the government? The banks. It ain't you and me, homie. The banks. It's their bank. They can do what they want. Good, bad, and different. The next is we have a contraction of resources, a tightening of resources. And so if there's fewer resources, the banks want to make sure that they're not equipping people, empowering people, enabling people that are ideologically dissimilar from them. And so now they have these soft metrics as well, like where do you shop, what do you watch on the internet, where, you know, what's your social media score or whatever. Are you a good little drone or are you standing up against the system? So that way they can be more deterministic with how they distribute the wealth that they have. Yeah, that exact phrase. They can be more deterministic in how they distribute the wealth that they have. Because there's going to be less of it. It's going to tighten up. War is a game of resources. We're in the midst of World War III right now. It just feels weird and looks funny because nobody be shooting at us right now. We're like, wait a minute, I've seen Saving Private Ryan. I've seen Full Metal Jacket. This is not what war looks like. It's like, actually, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It just feels different because we've all been gearing up for GWAT Part 2. That's right. When the government comes to take your arms, that's when it's time to use them. They're like, But meanwhile, you can't go to work and you have no money and you will take this vaccine or you will not eat. It's like, oh, we're in a war. How interesting. To say nothing of external war with China, Russia, et al., all their proxy states. Boy, that was a rabbit hole I jumped into. Moving right along. Despite this positive news, the Biden administration is considering travel bans to help mitigate the spread, particularly as variants like the UK mutation bloom across the United States. So these travel restrictions, interestingly enough, are to our own states, for example, like Florida. And that's probably some BS political move because Florida is a red-ish state. It's like gently purple, I would say. Republican governor. Florida is heavily dependent upon tourism. So travel bans coming into springtime with corona cases going down is just a big FU middle finger to Florida because they will not comply or they're complying less than the federal government would like them to. It's nonsense, but you're going to see more of it. You're going to see more of it, I suspect. Biden has called for 100 mass vaccination centers to be set up within a month at locations all around the country. What could go wrong? The Pentagon will be deploying over 1,100 troops. Wow, that's 11 troops per mass vaccination center. Wow. Oh, to assist 5 such centers. Okay, so that's 220 troops per center. The NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas will be a vaccine mega site, expected to be in operation by the 22nd of February. That's 10 days away. No thank you, no ma'am, no sir, I'm not going. Texas will be a vaccine mega site expected to be in operation by the 22nd of this month. It will be distributing thousands of shots daily. When combined with other mega sites like Fair Park and the AT&T Stadium in Dallas and Arlington, respectively, there can be over 10,000 shots given out per day. 2 sites predominantly run by the feds will open in California on the 16th, just 4 wee little days away. I'm good. Thank you, though. And, listen, Dr. Fauci said that it's going to take anywhere between 70 and 85% of the population getting vaccinated for the herd immunity to take place. Cool. I'll be over here enjoying my religious freedoms in the 15 to 30% of people that don't get vaccinated. I've already had COVID, so I don't need it. Thanks, bro. I'm good. I appreciate your concern, but I'm good. I don't need the vax. I'm really good. And I licked everybody I know. all of them. So they don't need it either. So we're good to go. Praise the Father. I don't need any HEC 293 aborted fetal cells into my blood. Bear, that's untrue. No, it's not untrue. We've done an entire show on it, to say nothing of the fact that we've touched on it a half a dozen other times scientifically with the supporting data. It is absolutely true that the proteins that are found within these vaccines are in part derived from aborted fetal tissue. I'm not doing that. I just refuse to play that game. I think that's an absolute abomination. And if the people that were responsible for coming up with that stuff in the first place were here right now, they'd be bleeding profusely. I'm not cool with that at all. So I'm not going to play that game. And that in of itself makes me dangerous to the system, because I will not comply is not simply something that you say with your mouth as you're getting onto the bus to be driven to the vac site so that you can get in the bread line. It's something that you do, something that you live. It's a conviction. My question is, who's going to run the class action lawsuits against all these governmental sites that invariably are going to have botched incidents of vaccination? And we know that you can't sue the vaccine manufacturer. And we know that if you sue the government, it's going to, by the time you're awarded anything, it'll be given to your great-great-grandchildren. So there's too many layers to this onion, apparently, in order to have any actual recourse. But we need one of those slick, fast-talking lawyers. Call Timmy Jones at 1-800-VAX. Have you or somebody you love been victimized by the vaccine, the Pfizer, Moderna, blah, 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 blah? Call 1-800-888-VAX. Yeah, we need one of those guys for sure. Maybe Lynn Wood will be the guy. I'm kidding. All right, so Bearfax. Listen, I think promo code SMALLBIZ, SMALLBIZ, is still live from last night. If it is, that'll get you 15% off everything that's in the Stizzors. That's at bearindependent.com and refugemedical.com. So this is the bare minimum. It's in an EMT rip-away pouch. You got a Gen 7 cat on this side. You've got your North American Rescue 7¼ trauma shears on this side. It's on a rip-away pouch, so you can do this with it. So if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth area, driving on I-35 and 100 cars pile up and there's no first aid in your vehicle, and no, I'm not capitalizing on the pain and death of others. I'm proving a point here. The first Bearfac that ever saved a life was a motor vehicle accident. Severed femoral artery, tourniquet applied, life saved. To think that, most people think that if you're not running around the woods in your Marpat woodland, eating crayons and licking frogs and all that stuff, which of course they're turning the frickin' frogs gay because of the fluoride in the water. We all know this. We have this misconception that if you don't wear a plate carrier for a living, you don't need a first aid kit. I'm telling you, those people yesterday needed first aid kits. There are people that died yesterday because of a motor vehicle accident, not just in the Fort Worth area, but all across this country. I promise you, there are people that died whose lives could have been saved had somebody had a first aid kit and known how to use it. This is a fact. Driving your car is statistically one of the most dangerous things that you do. You're more likely to get into a wreck and die driving your car than you are to get shot, stabbed, blown up. Now, it depends on where you are. If you're watching this live in Beirut right now, statistics skew a little bit towards blowny uppy rather than crashy drivey. However, point being, this misconception that we don't need a first aid kit, or if we do need one, it's just a boo-boo kit in your car, is wrong. First of all, most of us, generally speaking, are near our car almost always, right? So it's readily available. And then next, the high incidence of fatalities and preventable death in car wrecks requires something like this. And so we have people that have these strapped to the back of their headrest. What's up, Tactically, Torah? Yeah, I'm talking about you, as well as elsewhere in their vehicle. If you need it, you just rip it off. And then you've got, you open up the little zippers here, and you've got your tourniquet on this side for arterial bleeding. You've got another SWAT tourniquet down here for arterial bleeding in the extremities and or for creating a pressure bandage with the 2 5x9 gauze pads that are included right here in the back. Then for wound packing in the junctional areas, the neck, the pelvic girdle, the shoulders, you've got a 4-inch North American Rescue fold flat trauma dressing in the back right here. This is the Cub Pro, by the way, from Refuge Medical. So you've got a right here 4-inch fold flat pressure dressing in conjunction with the North American Rescue Responder compressed gauze right here, and your quick clotting agent right here, all for wound packing, for dealing with major bleeds. And then you've got duct tape right here because it sticks to everything, including blood, sweat, and tears. You've got some nitrile gloves right here because if it's wet and not yours, don't touch it. You've got a nasal pharyngeal airway, size 28 French, and you've got 2 high-fin chest seals right here for dealing with punctures to the box, the upper chest area, anything between the belly button and the base of the throat. So conceptually, one would think, well, I don't really need that stuff unless I'm going to combat. Wrong. Yesterday, unfortunately, proves quite well why one should have one of these kits around. Also, well, we'll get into that in a moment. So that's the Cub Pro kit from Refuge Medical. You can use promo code SMALLBIZ today for 15% off of that kit. It's already incredibly affordably priced. So an additional 15% off, that means that I make 10% off of that. Whatever you pay, there's 10% headroom left in it. And this, of course, is the bare minimum. Handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. If you use the contents of this kit or any other kit to save a life, I will replace them at my cost, not at your cost. These are on 4 continents with 4 branches of the armed forces, 13 lives saved thus far. The way that this works is it mollies onto your kit. You pull this tab open. You got your combat gauze right there in the top for wound packing. Pull that out. Pop this tab. Boom. There's everything you need and nothing you don't. Okay. So you got your surgical tape, 6-inch pressure dressing, nitrile gloves, Gen 7 cat tourniquet, legit decompression needle for tension pneumothorax. Then down here, you've got your shears, 2 5x9 gauze pads, a nasal pharyngeal airway, and 2 full-size high-fin chest seals stuck down in there as well. Everything you need, nothing you don't for dealing with the MAR of the March algorithm, which is massive bleeding, airway, and respiratory. So, exceeds military specification, the bare minimum. And today, you can use promo code SMALLBIZ for 15% off at refugemedical.com. For real, I don't care where you get a kit from. Get a kit, put it in your car. That pile up in Dallas is heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. Good people died because they didn't have access to medical equipment. Just simply having a tourniquet. Just a tourniquet. And get training. Learn how to use this stuff. We've got classes up at Refuge Medical if you're looking for some, but I'm not trying to use that tragedy in Dallas to sell training, but I am telling you, you need to know how to use this stuff. Just like you'd buy a firearm, if you're going to carry it for personal protection, you'd go seek out somebody to show you how to use it. Do the same thing with this. If you got a buddy that's an EMT or was in the armed forces or somebody that knows how to use a tourniquet, get a tourniquet and have them show you how to use it. Tourniquets save lives. It's a fact. It's not a sales pitch. It's a fact. All right. Since the beginning of vaccinations, there have been perpetual reports of fewer than 100 people facing adverse side effects or death around the world. Each time these events are reported, it sends a wave of doubt and fear through those who are already cautious of the safety of the rapidly developed COVID-19 vaccinations, which is a lot of people. Most recently, Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines both seem to be implicated in the development of a rare thrombocytopenia. Hey, can you turn the coffee pot back on, please? It's a sad state of affairs when the coffee pot clicks off automatically. I want one, whatever that device is that makes the pot turn off automatically needs to be permanently disabled. Cut the 2 wires, bypass that thing, solder them back together. It should stay on. I would rather risk a house fire than have the coffee pot turn off automatically. Unacceptable. Thrombocytopenia, an immune disorder that results in the body attacking its own blood platelets, causing concerning or deadly bleeding issues. 36 people self-reported the issue before the end of January. One 56-year-old doctor died of brain hemorrhage 2 weeks ago after receiving the vaccine, and one woman who reacted with bruising and bleeding just a day after the shot could not even be moved from her hospital bed for fear that a slight knock would cause her to bleed to death. While only 36 people developed the condition, and it's not absolutely certain it was caused by these new mRNA vaccines, insert hellacious eye roll here, the potentially severe consequences are concerning. The Times concluding statement was, quote, doctors contacted by the Times still insist that the vaccination is safe and that the risk of developing serious illness from the coronavirus is still higher than the risk of the side effects of the vaccine. That might be, oh, end quote. That might be statistically true. However, the virus has a 99.9 something, 98 something percent survivability rate. I'm gonna take my chances with that.
Yeah, everybody taking it right now is literally the guinea pigs.
Yeah, you guys that are taking the vaccine right now, y'all are the experimentation in phase 1.
You're the clinical trial.
Yeah, you're the clinical trial. That's exactly right. Good point, honey. What are you, smart or something?
Maybe.
Damn it, stand over there in the kitchen and be quiet. Act like an oppressed woman.
Sorry, I'm wearing house shoes.
Get your shoes off and be pregnant over there at the sink. Do something. Don't you know? Supposed to be oppressed and wear nothing but tattered rags.
Better watch out.
Feel the weight of me. So I'm not interested in being a guinea pig. I think you all know it. I'm really over all the coronavirus shenaniganry. I don't care. I think it's been politicized for the last year. I mean, we're going on a year here, people. A year of actual lockdowns. A year ago, we were at Bethany House deployed to work on that facility for the rehabilitation of trafficking survivors. And we started hearing whispers of national lockdowns coming because of coronavirus. And we had to shut down that project and bail. For what? Because it was politically expedient for the powers that be? It's bull. It's an absolute bull. I'm over it. I'm just super over it. I have nothing nice to say about it anymore. A coronavirus year in review would be a good show, but I don't even know if I have it in me. Like I don't care at this point. But think about from a governmental standpoint, how much has changed in the last year. My wife and I were talking about this the other day. The government used to be something that I tolerated when I had to interact with them, which was occasionally. And it has gone from that to something that we feel the force of every day now in a year. And people just sit back and act like sheep and it's going to be okay. No, I don't know if it is going to be okay. Certainly not going to be okay if you've decided to chain yourself in some cuckolded manner to your master that is the government that has nothing over you. The only authority that it has is the power that you've vested in it. Governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. And Well, that's the thing. They've bought you off with all these governmental programs. It's what 52% of the American population is in one way or another receiving something from the federal government. It's hard to bite the hand that feeds you. The whole thing's a mess. The whole thing is a mess. And as a fiscally conservative, libertarian, small business owner that just wants to be left the hell alone, it pisses me off. It really pisses me off. I'm over it. Let's read our silver linings. The Union of Large Tractor Manufacturers notified its employees that the vaccine will not be mandatory. This means I won't be forced to quit my job. Praise the Lord. Amen. I like it. Another viewer said, quote, after searching for over a year, we have closed on our property in the Finger Lakes area of that is a beautiful area. Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, far enough away from the city and the issues that come with too many people in one place. We're blessed to own our property outright with 12 acres of field and 2-story pole barn to start with. Awesome. Finger Lakes there's some beautiful trout fishing back there. And deer hunting, although at this point in New York, I think you actually have to just beat a deer to death with a rock in order for it to be considered sportsmanlike. And another viewer said, my laying hens have finally matured and are now producing eggs daily. One less thing to worry about for the next 1.5 to 2 years. Thanks for the kick in the butt to get things going. You're welcome. I'll kick your butt any day. And with that, like I said, I've done my best to keep this brief, and that's what we've got for today. So, Shabbat Shalom. Bless y'all. See you soon. Bear out.